It's me, the D-O double G. Welcome to the Eden Army Podcast with your host tonight, Pete Robert Tucci.
Welcome, everyone, to the Eden Army Podcast. Good to be here tonight. Tonight, we're going to skillfully navigate the intricate maze of the geopolitical spectrum and current events. We'll unravel the complexities of the political landscape, injecting just a touch of levity to try to make sense of the dystopian reality that is America. In this podcast, we'll guide you through the twists and turns of the ever-changing world of politics. From breaking news to an in-depth analysis, we'll explore the nuances of current events with a keen eye on the geopolitical chessboard. Our mission is to shed light on the serious issues while adding a bit of humor into the mix, making light of the dystopian landscape that defines the American political system. So buckle up, because we're about to get started right after these messages from our sponsor.
This episode of Eden Podcast is brought to you by Graphic Source of Central Florida, your go-to destination for custom signs, decals, and t-shirts that make a statement. The team specializes in turning your ideas into eye-catching, personalized creations. Look at that awesome Eden Army sign displayed behind me. It's just a glimpse of the creativity and craftsmanship you can expect from Graphic Source of Central Florida. From concept to creation, they handle all your t-shirt needs, ensuring quality and uniqueness that sets you apart. No matter where you are in the United States, they've got you covered. Graphic Source of Central Florida can ship your personalized creations right to your doorstep. Contact Graphic Source of Central Florida at 386-668-0288. Elevate your brand, style, or event with personalized creations from the experts at Graphic Source of Central Florida. Graphic Source of Central Florida, where imagination meets expertise. Call them today for your custom design needs. Tell them Pete sent you.
Let's go, boys and girls. What do you think of that? We are big time now, just so you guys know. And I think of this thing right here. It's pretty damn jam up. Thanks to Dan for that. He's awesome. So we got a lot going on. I got texts coming in. Ed's texting me. He's got images. Yeah, everyone's on Kick, Ed. Not sure what's going on your end, but we'll stay on YouTube for a little bit, and you know how we switch it up and do the after show on Kick so we don't get shadow banned from YouTube. There's a lot of news coming out of pretty much everywhere this week, guys. But let's see who's in the house so we can give shout outs to everybody. Guys here. Terry's always the first in at about 7:30. I go ahead and hit the let's go thing, and Terry's on point, ready to go. Guy, of course, is usually right behind her. Of course, we got Denise, my buddy Javi. Hey, my man. You know. Chris, my neighbor. I never mentioned, but Chris made a small appearance in book 1, and everyone was like, what happened to that family back there? But maybe we'll revisit Chris's family in some of the future books. Who else? The Rev. I kicked the Rev off of YouTube and brought him over to here. It looks like he might be even watching both of them. Who knows? But anyway, it doesn't matter. Keep arching both of them. Wayne is on. Cars, of course, is on. He's always on. Baby Girl is on. I'm still going to call you Baby Girl, so it's just the way it is. And who else? Christy, Eden Army number 1. Good. Yeah, it is time, Cars, to support Cheese Doodle's college fund. But, oh, and look, we actually got a subscriber up there, so we're almost at our 100 follower mark. And our subscriber mark's lacking a little bit, but we got 10%, so we're not bad. So busy news week. Let's see what's going on here. Battle Gnome is in the house. I forget who Battle Gnome is. Oh, no, I don't. I remember. I do remember. I look forward to seeing you. Hopefully you're at mountain readiness. So I think I got everybody so far. There are some There are some people that are lagging, or maybe they're just too afraid to talk in chat. Hold on, let me send Ed a message over on YouTube. There we go. That'll get Ed into Kick also. So good. I'm glad everyone's doing good. I know the weather, Terry, is cold up there where you're at. And Guy is basically snowed in. I'm surprised you even have internet right now, Guy. But I'm glad you're able to make it with us. Thank you all for spending a Friday night with me. I know I just heard that Emery was doing a podcast also about some of the events in Israel. And I will catch that on the rerun. I do not want to miss that. But unfortunately, if I'd have known that, I'd have just brought him on here and made him a guest. But I didn't know that in time. So it is what it is. Let's talk about some stuff. Now, look, we'll do it the same way. We are streaming not only on Kick, but also on YouTube right now. And we will swap up and go exclusively to Kick after the news. You know how we do it. And I'll try to keep it brief, because I know you guys want to get to doing whatever you're doing on Friday night. But everybody's doing good. I'm glad Ed made it in. Good job, Ed. I knew you could do it. But let's knock it off. Let's talk about some current events. And look, we'll go through, and Discord is open also, so if you guys want to jump in and get online, you're more than welcome to do that. What we'll do is we'll go through a topic. I'll pause for a brief minute, and then we'll see if you have any questions about that particular topic, and we'll discuss it to the best of our ability. If I don't know the answers, I'm certain somebody in chat will. So, and guys, what do you think about that? That sign is awesome. So we'll bring that to Mountain Readiness too. It's a little heavy, but Dan over at Graphic Design of Central Florida knocked that out in just a few days. So, and as a matter of fact, we're going to be getting all of our actual shirts printed from him. So we'll have plenty of shirts on hand. Chris, and I even got you taken care of, because I know we had that issue with the shipping from the other place. So we'll get you worked out, my friend. But let's dive into the news. You guys ready? Hey, what'd you think, before we do that, what'd you think of the monologue? You guys like monologues ahead of time or not? Don't care? Could really care? You tell me. And then we'll decide. I want to continually every week get better for you guys. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that. We'll get back to our normal rotation of guests here soon. And as a matter of fact, we are going to have a good friend of mine, Denise, on next week. She's a little shy. We couldn't get her on this week, but I'm going to walk her through the process and let her understand that there's really nothing to it. Denise, there's probably no one that could be more nervous doing this than me. I've spent the entire life trying to stay in front of a camera, and here I am now every Friday night on a camera, and it's mortifying. But we're doing it. We're making it better. And as long as you guys keep tuning in, we'll keep doing it. So let's knock out the news. Looks like Biden finally designated the Houthis as a terrorist group. And if you remember, we talked about this last week, that the Biden administration actually reversed the Trump era declaration in 2021 that the Houthis were a terrorist organization. And, I guess just like many things, like the wall, he had to reverse that policy because it actually works. And the Houthis are and always will be a terrorist organization. Now, I kind of somewhat understand why he took them off the designated terrorist list, was because the Houthis only own about, I'd say, a third of Yemen. The rest of it is, they've been fighting a civil war. So if they're labeled a terrorist organization, then no aid goes into the people that really need it. But the fact of the matter is, they are terrorists, and they always will be. So, just a reminder, since the war in Israel began, the Houthis have been a thorn in the heel of commercial commerce in the region. They've been bombing transport ships and cargo ships in the Gulf of Aden for a long time, trying to stop any military aid going into Israel, as if we don't have ways to get it to them without using cargo ships. The military has launched attacks toward the United States warships, and they've even attempted missile strikes into Israel proper, most of which have been intercepted by U.S. forces or the Iron Dome by Israel. As of today, U.S. forces are continuing airstrikes on Houthi positions to diminish the Houthis' ability to attack strategic and commercial trade routes. So that's heating up over there, guys. Just keep your eyes on it. And as a matter of fact, today, just before I got on the air, I was watching CNN, because I watch all the news. The Houthis formally said that they are at war with the United States of America. So I don't know what that means. You know, they were shooting missiles at our warships before they declared they're at war with the U.S. So, yeah, guess what? They're at war with the U.S. We get it. And maybe the Biden administration will realize that we are at war with Islamic extremists and do something about it instead of trying to appease their puppet masters over there in Iran. But I don't know. We'll see. Who knows? So that's everything I know about the Houthis that I think is of interest right now. Yemen is in turmoil, has been for years, and the Houthis are like I said, a proxy puppet for Iran. So that is the Houthis in a nutshell. So if you guys got any questions about that, we'll dive into them. But unless you don't, we're going to move on to the next thing. And it's actually in the same region as all this is going on. I don't know if you guys heard about this. Happened the beginning of the week. 2 Navy SEALs are missing after a boarding attempt that later resulted in the seizure of Iranian-made ballistic cruise missiles. And actually, I think this video was pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and run this if you guys don't mind.
A raid on an unflagged ship. While boarding, one was swept into the sea and another leaped in after him. Both have been missing since.
That's one of the sketchiest things we do.
In San Diego, retired Lieutenant Commander Ed Heiner knows firsthand what these operations involve. Over more than 20 years as a Navy SEAL officer, he participated in just about every type of operation the elite units are asked to do.
A lot of visit board search and seizures, which is shipboarding. Yeah, so I've been around the world a couple of times. Did 9 tours.
Pentagon officials say the SEALs found Iranian ballistic and guided missile components bound for Houthi rebels in Yemen. For 2 months, Houthis have been attacking merchant ships they say are either Israeli flagged or bound for Israel. So far, U.S. and allied warships have been able to shoot down the Houthi missiles and drones. Pentagon Press Secretary Air Force Major General Pat Ryder says as of Wednesday, crews continue to search for the missing SEALs.
That effort, it is ongoing. Certainly, we hope that we are able to recover our teammates. Our thoughts and prayers are clearly with their families.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause it there because this was Wednesday's news. And just so you guys know, the search is still ongoing for those Navy SEALs. And I have to say, if anybody can survive in the water for this amount of time, it is certainly the United States Navy SEALs. So Godspeed to them, good luck to them, and our prayers certainly go out to them. The Navy SEALs were operating off a vessel called the USS Puller. They were on a night mission in the Gulf of Aden. And of course, like you heard, they were boarding a dhow, which is a small fishing vessel or cargo vessel, and it's commonly used for transporting a number of different things. However, this particular vessel was carrying components for propulsion, guidance, and warheads for Houthi medium-range ballistic and anti-ship cruise missiles, as well as air defense associated components. So certainly there was some intelligence there. The Navy SEALs did what they do. They went in and isolated the threat and took care of it and recovered some parts that could be used not only against us, but also Israel and anybody else in that region. So shout out to them, and I hope that they find their missing teammates, because that's a sad deal. It should also be noticed that these dhows, they've been searching these for quite some time, and it's constant. They're constantly finding Iranian-made missile components, small arms, and bomb components on these things. So they were right to do what they did, and I hope they continue, and I hope this doesn't scare off the United States, or more importantly, this current administration from keeping up the pressure in the region. We shall see, though. I know, or I know. Trying to hide from the camera. I simply cannot do it. So that's news about that. Let's see. Good to go. Hey, Agnes. How are you doing, young lady? All these notes I have. On to the next one. Ooh, tensions are escalating in the border region between Pakistan and Iran. It looks like Pakistan launched missiles into Iran, killing 9 people after Iran carried out similar strikes into Pakistan on late on Tuesday. The attacks were in the border region between Pakistan and Iran, and both parties are currently condemning those attacks. And it should be noted that they're not attacking cities proper. What they're doing is in that particular border region are militant extremists that they're fighting each other. But actually, they just Iran and Pakistan typically just let them fight each other, and they don't normally get into the fray. But now the states themselves are launching airstrikes into the region, so it could escalate. And I often, I wonder when I first heard this, are we using Pakistan to get at Iran? I don't know. Are we hoping to use Pakistan? Now they've always been mortal enemies. Don't get me wrong, but I would not be surprised if we are using Pakistan as a proxy to fight a Cold War against Iran. But that's just speculation. I'm not 100% sure of that. Big news from the Beltway, actually from the Midwest. Trump wins a historic landslide in the Iowa caucus. Do you guys see this? Trump won by an unprecedented 30 points over Governor Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley. He smoked them, and it was a historic win. After the caucuses, Vivek Ramaswamy later dropped out of the race and put his full support behind former President Trump. So it looks like most people now are getting on the Trump bandwagon. Again, I know you guys know my feelings about Trump. I'm not a particular fan of his, but I am a fan of some of the policies that he put in place. He was certainly America first, and that's what I liked about him. So it's going to be interesting. The next stop for the GOPs are in New Hampshire, where, let's see, Nikki Haley is performing much better than she did in the Iowa caucus, but she is still a good, as of today, as of right now, she is polling 16% behind former President Trump. And Ron DeSantis is polling at a dismal 5%. So I suspect, although Governor Ron DeSantis has a lot of money in his coffer still, but I'm not 100% sure that he should carry on if his polling numbers continue through the New Hampshire caucus or New Hampshire primaries. But I don't know. What do you think? You think he should ride it out? Or, I mean, he does have a lot of money to spend. He is a fabulous governor. I just wish that he'd have waited 4 years before he went in to the presidential arena. But that's just my opinion. You got to let this whole MAGA crowd settle down a little bit. And he would have been better. You're right. He'd be better just to wait and get Trump support 4 years from now, as opposed to being in opposition to him in this particular election. Yeah, I think he should bail out. Rev says he should bail out. Terry agrees. She says he should have waited. Denise says, yeah, she agrees also. So interesting stuff. What else do we have? Oh, directly in the Beltway now. Check this out. So who cares? We're not going to look at that too much. But what that is a pro-Palestinian group of rioters that swarmed the outside of the White House. They hurled objects at Secret Service and police for hours. And this came on the cusp of our initial attacks on the Houthis in Yemen. And that doesn't show half of what they actually did, that video. They were actually pushing down White House fences and hurling water bottles and sticks at Secret Service And they forced all non-essential White House personnel to flee for their own safety. Do you remember during the BLM riots when the Secret Service made then President Trump go into the basement of the White House and what MSNBC and CNN said about him? I do. They said, oh, he had to flee into the basement. He's a weak president. And Wayne, that's what I said. This sounds eerily familiar. I wouldn't say insurrection because they weren't trying to stop, but weren't they though? Weren't they trying to stop some processes of the United States government in forming or helping Israel and fighting against the Houthis in Yemen? So yeah, I wonder how many got arrested. I wonder how many are in solitary confinement, like the January 6th insurrection. And I wonder what the DOJ is going to do about it. Or are they going to continue to have a two-tiered justice system like they had? Let's see. So that's the pro-Palestinian stuff. Here's the catalyst. This is my last bit of news for the evening, and then we'll just talk smack. But this is probably one of the most important things going on in the news today. And we're not hearing a lot about it. We are hearing some about it, especially if you tune into Fox and some of the other right-leaning news organizations. The Texas National Guard began arresting people trying to sneak into the country illegally. We talked last week about the Texas National Guard kicking the Border Patrol agents out of Shelby Park in Eagle Pass, Texas. It seems the Biden administration has given the governor an ultimatum. Texas needs to cease and desist and allow federal agents to continue processing illegal crossers in that particular park, or else. Those are his words, not mine. In a bold statement, the governor told the feds that his officials will neither comply nor surrender to that request. Is this the catalyst? Is this the thing that makes the whole conspiracy of civil war go pop? I don't know. But I will say that Washington, D.C. needs to tread very, very lightly, especially when dealing with those people over there in Texas. This scares me more than anything else right here. And when I say scare me, I mean that just simply means this is where I think the nation could go sideways. And I think that the Biden administration needs to heed warnings and back off those people in Texas. It's clear what they're doing with this illegal migration. Everybody knows it. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. And the fact of the matter is, it's up to the states to protect their people. First, they tried to do it by shipping these illegal crossers to sanctuary cities. Sanctuary cities where the feds have been paying money to these cities didn't want these illegal immigrants. They were turning them around. They say they're a burden to our state, or a burden to our big cities. What do you think they are to border cities who are not getting paid by the feds as sanctuary cities? So I didn't hear that hot mic moment. Type it in for me. So Denise says, what do I think about Biden's hot mic moment? I did not hear that. Tell me about it. But Texas and this whole situation could be the things that sparks the powder keg. We shall see. And Arizona and I think another state said no matter what, they would stand by Texas and follow their lead. So this is reminiscent of old time, the things that just started happening before the initial Civil War. It's gonna be interesting. Yeah, Rev, the NG against National Guard against the U.S. military, that is not good. Do they stand a chance? Absolutely not. But what do you think would happen to all these red states if the United States government actually did something that stupid and actually used force against Texas? I'm telling you, do you think the insurgency was bad in Afghanistan and Iraq? They will never, in the history of the world, see an insurgency into Texas than they would if that were to happen. There would be an insurgency of millions of people that are well armed, and are well trained for the most part. These aren't guys that were living in mud huts. These are people that are patriotic Americans that will travel to Texas, and they will stand up for Texas. So Denise says he said that they have to get those cowboys under control so they can keep their stream of military-aged men flowing through. And if they need to get the F-15s out, they'll do whatever it is that they have to do. Yeah, well, the most powerful military in the world, two of the most powerful militaries in the world, were defeated in Afghanistan. So Russia was defeated in Afghanistan, and in my opinion, the United States was defeated in Afghanistan. I mean, we went to fight the Taliban, and then we gave the Taliban control again. Now, I'm sure there were stipulations involved with that, but still, it doesn't matter. They hid, and they conducted guerrilla warfare tactics until we left. So I don't see a positive end game for the Biden administration, especially with rhetoric like that, getting caught on a hot mic. That's anyway. That's what I think. I think this could be the thing that makes it go pop. I don't know. What do you guys think? Terry, you're saying the U.S. won't back off, or are you saying that Texas won't back off? Let me get chat up here too, guys, so you can all see the chat real quick. Here we go. So there we go. Yeah, you know, I think Biden is too stupid to back off. I can only hope that his handlers will direct him. And I mean, I don't know. I'm telling you right now, I can guarantee Texas will not back off. They've got enough oil reserves. They've got enough. They've got their own economies. They don't need the feds. Denise says Abbott said today that 25 other states are rallying behind Texas and sending their National Guards down to Texas. Wow. I want to see video of other National Guards showing up. And that man, this thing, I'm telling you guys, this thing can pop at any moment. It only takes one errant shot, one misfire, one negligent discharge, and that would be the shot. You talk about the shot that was heard around the world. Forget it. First of all, Russia would be happier than hell. China would be happier than hell. Israel will shit their pants, and Ukraine will shit their pants if we get caught up in our own little conflict here stateside. Wow. This is interesting times we're living in, folks, which is why it's important to keep those preps up. Joanne, welcome to Kick. If you're still here, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. I'm glad you made it. So that's all the news that is the news, guys, unless you've got something you want me to touch on. I don't see Will in here tonight. Will normally has a whole bunch of questions for me and keeps the party going. Hopefully he's doing all right now. You're not shitting. Javi, I'd love to hear what your brother's take on all this is. Javi's brother is a retired Border Patrol agent, and I would love to hear his take on all this. And I'd be interested to see what the Border Patrol would actually do if given the order to try to take over that park by force. I would be interested to see what our military commanders would do if they were told to go in and take over that park by force. If you remember, during the BLM riots and the Antifa riots, we lost a whole part of a city in Oregon. They called it Chaz. Do you guys remember that? Where they wouldn't let any police into the streets. They wouldn't let EMS personnel. They took over something like 10 square blocks of a city. So, well, good. I'm glad you were watching. I'm glad you're over here now, hanging out with all the cool kids. So yeah, so it goes back to that two-tiered justice system. The feds did absolutely nothing when it came to Chaz, and it'll be interesting to see what they actually do against a bunch of cowboys. And I suspect they're going to have their hands full with those cowboys. Look, there's only so much an F-15 can do, and that's been proven in these conflicts that we've had all over the world. At some point, you're going to have to put boots on the ground to take that park back by force, and it'll be interesting to see what those federal soldiers do if given that order. Nick Meacher is posting a lot of intel, which is kind of cool. And I'm glad he's doing that because I love to get it from multiple sources. Nick Meacher is a friend of the Angry American community. He is their communications guru. And he seems to have some pretty good intelligence every now and then. Yeah, Rev says Oregon is so liberal that the feds like it. And you're absolutely right. They are super liberal. And unlike Texas, who just wants to be left alone, these leftist organizations like Antifa and BLM are looking for a fight. They want to fight so they can cry and whine and talk about how they've been depressed by the man. Texas just wants to be left alone. They always have been and they always will be. And you're right, they don't need anything from the federal government. Well, and today, Will, I don't know if you missed it, but not only are they slowing access entry into the country, they're also arresting people now. They're not armed yet, but according to chat, we've got 25 other states that are willing to send National Guard troops to give them a hand. Yeah, Ed, the Bureau of Land Management did go against some cowboys a few years back. It was a standoff, and one of the guys who was involved in the standoff was killed. But look how long they and why did that standoff happen? That happened because the feds were trying to steal land from this poor guy who only wanted to graze his cattle. He had rights to graze his cattle. His family had rights for damn near a century to graze his cattle on federal land. Nobody ever said anything about it. And you're right, the government overreached and overnight says, no, you're not allowed to graze your cattle. And was that the Bundy Ranch? Let me look it up real quick. I think it was. So we're not talking out of our butts here. Yeah, 2014, Bundy standoff was an armed confrontation between supporters of cattle rancher Cliven Bundy and law enforcement following a 21-year legal dispute over the United States Bureau of Land Management. He obtained a court order directing Bundy to pay over $1 million in withheld grazing fees. The Bundys had used the federally owned land adjacent to the Bundy Ranch in southeastern Nevada, and there was consequently an armed standoff. And there were a lot of people on their way going to that standoff that were caught en route that didn't actually make it. But yeah, certainly government overreach as typical. That was Lavoie or something like that. Let's go back to this. Perfect. So that is certainly all the news that is news. There is stuff going on in Israel, but everybody has been tight-lipped about some of that stuff. And Israel is just quietly doing their thing over there. But we'll do a complete breakdown once again on the Israeli conflict. And maybe we'll get, what's his name over here? Angry Americans guy over here to talk about it. He gets a little long-winded sometimes, though, so I gotta kind of be careful and keep him under wraps. Any other questions tonight, guys? We will have, like I said, we will have shirts on hand, not only here at in Central Florida, but we're also going to start toting them around to our trade shows that we go to, specifically Mountain Readiness. I didn't see any. Will's asking about the Intel guys. I'm assuming you're talking about the Forward Observer guys. Haven't seen anything really good coming out of them here lately. Let's see what I got. You know, they are so deep in the geopolitical stuff that it sometimes goes above my pay grade. And they dive a whole bunch deeper into the economic ramifications of what's going on geopolitically than I can wrap my head around. But they do certainly put out good information if you have the ability to grasp it. They did say something interesting today, that NATO increased their exercises in Europe to a 90,000 man training exercise or field training exercise. So, and why do you think they did that? They simply did that because they want to show a force against Putin. Yeah, that's all they really had. I save all their stuff just because I'm weird like that. Something from an economic standpoint, if you see here, Argentine creates their own currency, and that goes along with some of the financial stuff that the BRIC stuff that they're all working on over there. And then there's the Iran and Pakistan. Yeah, nothing that really caught my eye this week from those guys. Not that they don't put out good stuff. Like I said, they put out excellent stuff, and that's Forward Observer, but nothing that really caught my eye this week. Yeah, well, and I don't know if you heard, but the Houthis have formally said that they are at war with the United States after the rocket attack, the ballistic rocket attack, which was shot down. Next pandemic, well, they're already trying with the respiratory illness thing, but that's not going to work. They blew their wad there, Terry, with COVID. They approached that completely in the wrong fashion. And here's the problem with that, and the problem, the ramifications of what the feds have caused. There's going to be something that really comes out that we should heed their warnings, and we're not going to, because we're not going to trust them. And people ask, they said, well, why are you against the vaccination? I go, I'm not against the vaccination. There are vaccines that our kids have to take to get into school. It's not a matter of if I am opposed to vaccinations. I'm opposed to them using us as test subjects under an emergency emergency order. That's what I'm opposed to. And you know the funny thing, I just saw something today that came across the wire that doctors were given large incentives for, I wish I could find that, large incentives to make sure all of their patients were vaccinated, up to $250 per patient to get vaccinated. I think that was on X. Let me double check because I don't want to talk out of my... Bear with me. Yeah, that's not what I was looking for. X today said that I don't remember who it was on Twitter, but basically gave a breakdown of all the incentives from an insurance company that they would give these primary care physicians if they made sure their patients got vaccinated. But going back to my story I was getting ready to start, was I recently changed insurers. My medical insurance has changed since I retired from the fire department. So it was my last visit with my good friend and my primary physician, and I asked him, I go, listen, Doc, I'll call him Dr. J. I said, listen, Dr. J, you were really pushing me to get this vaccine. I go, knowing what you know now, would you tell your patients to get the vaccine? And he shut the door and he kind of got quiet and he goes, absolutely not. There's no way I would tell anyone. He goes, I have to, but if they're blunt like we're talking now, I would not tell them to get vaccinated. Not with that COVID vaccine. Interesting. Yeah, I sent that out or posted that. Will said I saw they plan to suspend the mRNA vaccine. Yeah, the Department of Health and Human Resources here in Florida has suspended the usage of that vaccine, saying there are too many side effects. Yeah, I mean, Denise, if you have the ability to self-heal, but there's just some stuff that you can't. You got to go see a doctor. And 9 times out of 10, they make you come once a year, even if you don't have anything wrong. You got to, if you want your scripts filled or whatever. They had no problem just writing prescriptions when it came to the pain pill epidemic. But now they seem to have a big problem filling blood pressure medicine if you don't come see them every 6 months. That's interesting. Something I didn't add to the situation report for this week. Did you see that the GOP is opening up an investigation against Bank of America? Now, this was back after January 6th. There was an investigation, but there was actually an FBI whistleblower that went in front of the GOP congressman and said that Bank of America, and this is not my words, this is right from the congressional report. Bank of America, back during the, let me recap. Back during the January 6th, Bank of America gave out a bunch of information pertaining to purchases using their credit cards or debit cards. And when they were asked about it initially, they said they were only complying with law enforcement requests for those records. Well, come to find out that law enforcement never asked Bank of America for those records, and they took it upon themselves to arbitrarily audit every person's account and see who bought firearms, who bought a bagel or rented a hotel room, or bought a plane ticket to Washington, D.C. prior to the January 6th mostly peaceful protest. So they went about it on their own without a warrant, and now they are certainly backtracking. But GOP has opened a formal investigation yesterday, and we shall see what happens with that. Interesting, Rev. So you guys see what Rev wrote right there. Yeah, and it was always my contention. I mean, we wore masks at the fire department, but it was always my contention. And when I would go to someone's house and they'd run and say, oh, I got to get my mask on, I go, no, I'm wearing a mask. If I'm wearing a mask and masks work, why do you also need to put one on? I go, just relax. So, Javi, I don't know. Javi is here right now. I'll put you in contact with him. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to have dinner with him and his lovely wife tomorrow. So I will ask him. But either way, he'll be good either way. Because if we can't find him somebody, then I'll take my gringo butt and help him. We'll see. Although chances are he's probably not going to get the quality work that he thought he would. But we'll take care of him. Yeah, Javi's laughing at me. Javi knows the only thing I can do is electrical work. And as a matter of fact, I wired my own addition over here, and I was taking so much time, or at some point, he just basically told me to get lost. He'll handle it. And normally I would give somebody a hard time about that, but I certainly trust Javi with any of that. So he's an expert at a lot of things, and I wouldn't call anybody else if I needed something done around the house. Javi went up to the North 40 Writing Shack with me, and in 3 weeks, we completely gutted the place, cut the floor up, moved bathrooms, added a bedroom. Sun up to sundown, we worked our tails off, and he did an amazing job. But certainly I could have done it without him, but it would not have looked the way it does. I promise you that. I'm excited for him to see my back porch, actually, because I think me and Mama did a hell of a job on the back porch, and I think he's going to be impressed. So, Javi, I don't know. Are we meeting at the restaurant tomorrow, Javi, or are you guys coming by here? Because I do have a question for you. I need some help with something. Will, no, I did not go. Donnie Dunn is a firearms instructor. Will asked if I went to his class. I did not go to his class. I certainly want to, and I wouldn't mind him putting on a class during our meetup here out at the property, because that was good stuff. And then I also had Christy and her son out here for a little impromptu basic pistol class. And let me tell you, they went from being so nervous and not being able to hit the target to putting 5 shots within the size of a quarter after about an hour and a half. It was impressive. Javi, work that out with, have your wife get with my wife and work all those details out. You know how I am with all that. But I do have a question for you. I do need your advice on something. So if you want to, then certainly come on this way, and then we'll just caravan over to the comedy show. We're going to see a comedy show tomorrow in Daytona somewhere. I don't remember what it's a female comedian. I'm not sure who it is, but I think she's pretty raunchy. Yeah, well, they did an amazing job. And, you know, Miss Christie was a little bit nervous at first. And then after about an hour, she was shooting like a laser beam. It was amazing. You know the progress you made, Christy. You were amazed yourself. You had to go take a picture of it, I think. Will asks about the February thingy. I'm letting Chris handle all of that, as well as the invites. I've only invited a few people, mostly people that are in my book. James and the Lala. There's no party without the Lala, so we certainly need to have him here. And of course, Chris, you're invited also. It's going to be a weekend, cooking a hog and camping out with all of our main people. Yeah, you know, she contacted me, Will, a while back about doing some female self-defense stuff. So I did see that she had found somebody to do that, which I'm happy. But I also understand there was some Facebook drama along with all of that. So, yeah, Guy, you'd be proud of them. And once you get here, we'll get everybody out on the range. And she can show you her skill set now. Which video did you lose? Did you lose Kick or... Looks like we're still streaming on Kick. Pretty good, Wayne. But if everybody else is having a problem, tell me. We can reset it. We're only about 4 minutes from dropping out of YouTube anyway, so. Yep, good. Wayne, it's you. It's at Ocala Internet Service. Well, Christy, we'll put a little competition together between you and him and see what happens. All right, we're going to cut the stream loose on YouTube. I'm going to continue it here on Kick, but give me about 5 minutes and we'll go to intermission. I'll kiss the wife since I haven't seen her all day, and then we'll get back at it on Kick for the after show. Hang tight.